welcome to our November show. This is Thanksgiving month, sports highlights. My name is Greg Bickaveris, our program since February of 1992. For more, log on to NNPSTV.com. It airs on Mondays on linear TV at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. Weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47, 517, all over YouTube and social media as well. Don't forget to look at our YouTube channel, NNPS Telecom, and Greg Bick. That's me. Of course, we've got Kyle McMullin, the Director of Athletics at CNU, and Kashif Johnson, the head basketball coach with the Virginia Neptunes. Kyle, good to see you, my friend.
Greg, great to see you. Appreciate you having me on.
You and I were both board members of the Peninsula Sports Club a good while back, and of course, talk about your meteor success here, the rising at CNU, because you worked directly with Paul Tribble for a long time.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I've had the great fortune being, going on, this is my 16th year at Christopher Newport, and, beyond just working for President Tribble, having the good fortune to work with folks like C.J. Willem at a real formative time for our program where we were able to really see a lot of the hard work that folks have been putting in for decades leading up to it and seeing it really come to fruition the last 15 years. Really special time to be there, and I feel very blessed and honored that we get to see the success of our programs and in a way that I know that CJ and President Tribble kind of crafted up decades before I even got here too. So
yeah, because for those of us that grew up here, was Christopher Newport College. Yeah. We could see one part of the campus and we're done for the day. Now it's like you go down Warwick Boulevard, the first thing you see is that presence of CNU in the Midtown section.
Yeah, well, and I think, again, long before I ever got here, folks like CJ, folks like Bev Vaughn before CJ,
oh, yeah.
They knew full well how important of a role, having a college like Christopher Newport could play in the community, right? And so you talk about the physical manifestation of campus as you drive down Warwick Boulevard, but I mean, we take very seriously, with our student athletes, with our coaches, the fact that yeah, we have an important role to play in this community. It's an important role that we play for our student athletes and putting them in position to be successful, but it's about so much more than just bringing trophies back to Newport News. It's about teaching folks and the young men and women on our campus the role that they play in this community, how important it is to represent Newport News on the national stage when we get the opportunity to do it.
It really is. I mean, academics, we talk about athletics, activities. You look at where I went to high school, Ferguson is now a performing arts center.
Yeah.
Named kind of like they kept the Ferguson name, but the Freeman Center, of course, is a multi-purpose basketball facility and people exercise in there.
Yep.
Talk about some of the signature buildings on campus.
Sure. So, you look at it, it's been very intentional from the growth of campus standpoint. The Ferguson Center, it works out beautifully that Ferguson High School has evolved into the Ferguson Center for the Arts. But Ferguson Enterprises has invested in Christopher Newport, and their name and their logo adorns that building. So it's been kind of the growth from Ferguson High School to the Ferguson Center with that. But it takes the corporate citizens of Newport News like Ferguson to do it. The Freeman Center, the Freeman family, has touched this community in so many powerful ways over the years. So for us to be able to build that facility, to let it kind of grow and evolve on our own campus with their help and support and bear their name matters. But you can look at it in any other number of places on campus with Forbes Hall. Dr. Forbes was a huge member of this community that made so many investments and input that allows us to celebrate her. McMullin Hall. The McMullin family has been a critical component of the growth of this place. So, I think you look at any one of the facilities around campus and you can see the fact that we're very cognizant of the fact that it's the investment of the community around us that has really allowed us to grow and become, one of the finest Division III programs in the country, and we're very proud of that. We recognize that every day.
Yeah, because it was not easy starting a football program, and now you're assistant Matt Kelchner, or he ran that for so long, but you've had success in other sports too, like softball.
Absolutely. Greg, you look at across the board athletic success, and this is a program this past year we were the top ranked public school in Division III. We finished in the top 10 in all Division III schools across the country for overall athletic success. And that puts us in a category with places like Johns Hopkins, Tufts, MIT. I mean, the neighborhood when you're in the top 10 in Division III is just truly remarkable, but it doesn't happen just because of one program. You know, you've got to have programs like softball that, you know, won a national championship in 22. Women's soccer won a championship in 21. Of course, men's basketball won one last year. And, you know, of last academic year, men's basketball might have been, you know, the only one to win the national championship, but 17 of our 21 NCAA sports played in the NCAA tournament last year. You know, and I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because there's, you know, really intentional thought and plan over the course of a long period of time to make that a reality. And President Tribble and, you know, C.J. Woolham, I mean, that was their vision 25 years ago, and to see it, you know, kind of come to fruition over the last couple of years is really cool.
And that's a credit to you and your coaches. I mean, how many leagues and conferences have y'all been in since you got there? A lot.
Well, you know, I mean, you look at conference affiliation, Greg, and college athletics moves quickly. College athletics has evolved a lot over the last 25 years, and so I think CNU kind of mirrors that in a little bit. Yeah, you know, when I arrived in 2008, we were a member of the USA South Athletic Conference. Right. You know, and that was populated with you know, small private, you know, schools within the Virginia, North Carolina region. And during our time in that conference, it evolved even into, you know, reaching down as far south as Alabama. Well, we kind of grew up in a little different way and ended up being able to partner with the folks like Mary Washington and Salisbury and Frostburg State and York, you know, schools that were more mid-Atlantic focused, some more public schools that looked like us. And, you know, that kind of has evolved into the Coast to Coast Athletic Conference, you know, which is a truly unique enterprise in the world of college athletics, and one that, frankly, I'm really proud that Christopher Newport was able to be, you know, play a role in. You know, we get to be in a conference with folks like the University of California at Santa Cruz. You know, the Banana Slugs are conference members. Yeah. That's great. And so that's been a lot of fun, but it has been an evolution that kind of mirrors, you know, the growth of Christopher Newport and the fact that, you know, institutionally our identity has changed, but our physical location hasn't. You know, we've always stayed rooted here in Newport News and on the peninsula, and as our teams go out and spread their wings further and further, the goal is always to make sure that we're representing this community and doing it well. Yeah, it might be a city and state school and whatever, but the brand is national and international, from your academics and to your professors, and there's so much to offer at CNU. You've got to just love it. Of course, you grew up in Montana and Blacksburg. Yep. But this school has evolved as time has gone on too, with both your coaches and your professors and students as well. It's nothing like seeing the students come back to school in the fall, cross Warwick Boulevard in a rush, and you know they're excited about going to the class. Yeah, you know, I mean, growing up in Blacksburg, I've got a very well-tuned, you know, sense to what a university does for a community, right? I mean, Blacksburg exists because of Virginia Tech by and large. And, you know, that's one of the things that I've always genuinely appreciated about Christopher Newport is, you know, we've got the opportunity to add value to this community, and we want to do that. But yeah, you know what? It's fun when the kids come back. Growing up in a town like Blacksburg, you realize the two best days of the year are the day that the kids come in for the fall semester and the day they go home for the spring. You know, you're ready to see them go after an academic year, but by golly, over the course of the summer, you're ready to see them come back too. What do you tell your coaches? What are you looking forward to if you wanted to change something? Because anybody could put it on cruise control, but you don't do that. You're always evolving, always moving forward. You're always in motion with your coaches, trying to get the most out of them, whether they won championships or not. How do you take it to the next level as far as keeping it there? So, you know, every institution is unique, Greg, right? Like the recipe for success at Christopher Newport is different than it is at Johns Hopkins. It's different than it is at Virginia Tech or any other place. At CNU, I think where we've really found keeping our folks on edge and constantly looking forward is the fact that to be successful at this level, to legitimately compete for national championships, we've got to go find kids that are going to add value to our campus in more ways than just being a great athlete. Like, if they're showing up at CNU and all they want to do is hold on to a trophy and celebrate a championship, then we've probably done it wrong. folks that genuinely thrive and help us win championships are students that want to be here because they value the academic experience, because they value the campus experience that we're going to be able to provide, and that they want to do all of those things, right? And I think it's what's lost in the narrative about college athletics right now in our society is, people always want to make it a zero-sum game where everything is a win or everything is a loss, and it's all about just the competitive experience. You look at Division III athletics and the corner of it that we get to occupy, the teams that are the most successful are the teams and the students that embrace the fact that you can have a comprehensive experience and do it without it being at the expense of the competitive side. The best students often end up being the best athletes in our world, often end up being the ones that are involved in campus life and clubs and fraternities and sororities. Just because you demand a lot out of them athletically doesn't mean that we can't also do that in every other aspect of their life. And I think that's lost a lot right now in the discussion about what college athletics is in America. Everybody just wants to focus on the competitive success and the competitive outcomes. But in our world, and certainly what has been the recipe for CNU, like where we lift up kids and find kids that are going to succeed competitively, they're also going to succeed academically and socially as well. And
get that degree, but let's say that, how can they be competitive? It's tough enough for a business person to get through an 8-hour workday. And back in the day, ACC was the North Carolina schools, Virginia, Maryland, Georgia Tech, Clemson. Now, how can you do academics in the middle of the winter when nobody's watching, just a little bit, and try to get your grades right and go from an ACC type school in Virginia all the way to the West Coast? That's changed. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have never believed it. Now, how can they get their work done like that?
Well, I'm not going to speak to the folks in the ACC just because their world is very different than ours. But what I can tell you, at CNU, being truly the first coast-to-coast athletic conference in all of the NCAA, I laughed when the Big Ten added USC and UCLA, and their press release, proudly stated that they were going to stretch from coast to coast. So yeah, well, we did that first. Now our model is a little different in the fact that we're not going to expect our tennis teams and our volleyball teams and our soccer teams to fly coast to coast just to play a regular season game. In Division III, we don't have to, and even within that context, it doesn't make sense. But what I'll tell you is I think college athletics is following the modern economy. How we consume athletics from an entertainment standpoint is different today than it was 25 years ago. So much more of it happens digitally and through television. And so at that level, it makes sense for them to be able to spread itself out. From our perspective, working with folks like the University of California at Santa Cruz makes a great deal of sense for us because we're about to send these kids out into a modern economy where they're going to have to know how to work productively from an airplane, where they're going to have to be able to work and get their work done in a hotel. You know what? It's important for us to put our kids in the environment and teach them how to do that before we launch them out into the world and expect their employers to teach them how to do that.
Right. It's all about hotspot and Wi-Fi now, right?
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? I mean, kids have to know how to get work done in a Starbucks.
Right, right. Absolutely. You're exactly right.
Our kids are going to do work in the Starbucks here on Warwick Boulevard, so for them, the concept of being able to get their homework done in this Starbucks or a Starbucks in Texas or California it's the same thing. Yeah. It's just a matter of making sure they know how to get it done.
I remember the first football game CNU played in was against Chowan, right? And Coach Saban was the coach, and he ended up coaching so many NFL teams. And so you guys have had world-class students, but it's also what those kids do when they graduate, too, to be good leaders and good examples from CNU.
Yeah, Greg, I mean, anybody that talks to me about why we do what we do has heard me talk about the fact that teaching people how to be champions is a skill set, right? Like winning a championship is a skill set. That's a skill set that relies on discipline, that relies on hard work, teamwork, leadership, coachability, and those are all skill sets that when we teach kids how to do that in athletics, it's a skill set that they can translate to the academic side of their experience. It's a skill set that will translate to their professional careers moving forward. And so, I mean, we want to win championships because we're going to train kids how to do that, and it's going to make them more marketable in the world when they go out and leave Christopher Newport.
It's like the networking skills. All right, Kyle, all the best. Leave us with a final word for CNU. You have a great website. Tell us Real quick, your president's name, the new one?
Oh, President Kelly, yes.
Yeah.
So President Bill Kelly joins us from the Coast Guard Academy. He's a retired Rear Admiral from the Coast Guard. Incredible human being, and I think is going to do wonderful things building upon the legacy that Paul Tribble started here, or it's continued at Christopher Newport. So it's going to be a great time to be a captain. Come on out. You know, it's basketball season is upon us, and there's going to be, you know, the defending Division III national champions playing in the Freeman Center all winter long. In the women, you know, we're the national runner-up last year in Division III as well. So there's incredible basketball to be seen in the Freeman Center this winter, and it's worth coming out.
It's always nice to see the students mixing with the senior citizens. I love that, especially during basketball. All right, that was Kyle McMullin, the Director of Athletics at CNU. Thank you for your time, your talent, and your treasure, all of it.
Well, Greg, thanks for having us, and we're pleased to be able to do it here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for our next guest right here on the November show.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
I've been rising up and advancing in my classes.
I've been rising up to be the best student athlete I can be.
I'm rising up as a leader in my school.
I'm rising up to prepare for my future career.
We are all rising up and preparing ourselves for success, thanks to our dedicated teachers and staff in Newport News Public Schools.
Rise up!
And welcome back to our November show. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us. Hope you enjoyed Kyle McMullin from CNU. Let's shift gears to basketball, talking to Kashif Johnson, who went to Menchville High School. He's the head basketball coach of the Virginia Neptunes. Kashif, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Talk about your basketball background. You've done a lot of basketball and a lot of training as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been playing organized basketball since I was 7 years old. Played every level. Was at Menchville, graduated in 2001. Played at Averett University in Danville, Virginia to 2005. Made it to Finland, was there for a cup of coffee. And then been back here. I've been coaching and training basketball players ever since.
That time in Finland helped you evolve as a man?
Yeah, it taught me the business of basketball real quick because I was there maybe 5-6 days, got hurt. They gave me a plane ticket and a check.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it. so you learn life is the reality there. Yeah.
Real quick. That was it.
We'll talk about your style of basketball and talk about the Neptunes.
Well, my style of basketball, I believe in free-flowing basketball. And, you know, as basketball has evolved over the years, you see more positionless basketball. And those are the things that we want to highlight and, you know, try to play like with the Virginia Neptunes. The Virginia Neptunes is a basketball organization that is affiliated with the G League in our league, the TVBL. And we play NBA rules, we have NBA standards, we have everything that these players need to propel their careers to their next level. So their next level being the G League, NBA, or overseas.
Well, where do you find your roster? And also, is it a volunteer or paid league?
Yes. So, yeah, everybody gets paid from us anyway. I can't speak for all the other teams.
Sure.
But we have a great owner, Mr. Adrian Justice. We have a great owner. He makes sure everybody get paid on the first.
Right.
And, you know, we have players from Virginia Beach, Richmond, some local guys here. So, we've scouted all over the place. I've sent my assistant coaches to Vegas, Philly. Like we've been everywhere looking for the best talent we can get to comprise our roster.
Well, that's a great opportunity for you, head basketball coach. And of course, it still comes down to fundamentals and teamwork, and they got to buy into what you're saying.
Absolutely. So, you know, I'm big on togetherness. I'm big on team. I'm big on just attacking things the right way. Like I tell all the guys, like we all have the same dream. even myself, we're all trying to bounce up. This, and I tell everybody this is not a final destination. The Virginia Neptunes is not our final destination. It is a pit stop along the way. And that's how we attack it. We're all trying to go further in our careers.
And that basketball thing is a good example, too, because when the ball dribbles, it bounces up.
Yes,
it can bounce right back down,
yes, sir.
Just like in life.
Everything goes up, everything comes down. You got to learn how to stay consistent as possible is the way I like to attack things. You know, stay even keel. You can't get too high, you can't get too low, because the lows will beat you up, especially in basketball.
Right. And the pivots is good, too, because in life you have to pivot from
yes,
from work or relationship or
Absolutely.
anything. And basketball is the perfect way.
Same thing.
6-man, whatever.
Yeah.
It takes everybody to win.
Absolutely.
You know, what type of culture, and talk about your staff.
We have a hard working culture. We have some pillars that I like to put in place. We like to attack everything relentlessly. We want to do everything together, and we want to trust in the work that we've done. I have a great staff. Sterling Brown, who came in with me from Hampton Christian, he's my top assistant. He's the associate head coach. He's tremendous on the details. We have Coach Jasmine Green, who went to TAB, I believe. She's also a Hall of Famer for Hollins University. Outstanding motivator. She knows her stuff, and for her to be, a little dynamo,
yeah,
she commands the room when she walks in. So I'm very impressed with her. And we have Derek Gatlin from Jamestown High School. He's our skills guy, and he does a tremendous job getting those guys, training their skill set, not just ball handling, shooting, but all aspects of basketball. And he's big on mental health and making sure guys are staying upbeat.
Right, because you do a lot of physical training.
Yes, sir.
And of course, that's important. You got to stay in shape. I always
Absolutely.
tell people, you just don't show up on game day.
No.
There's so much preparation when nobody's watching.
Correct. Like I was telling my guys, last weekend we had a conditioning day. We are preparing for February today. We championships are won in the off season and in the preseason, where we are currently right now, and we have to attack it like we're trying to win a championship every day.
Because when you're walking and you're sweating and you're moving and there's no crowd there applauding you, when you're taking a deep walk, let's say on the street even, there's no cheers.
No cheers.
But you got to finish.
Correct. It's all about finishing what we start right now, and that's what we're focused on. There's no walking on my court.
Yeah.
There's no lack of effort. We have to put forth maximum effort every workout, every practice, every game.
Yeah, I always say matched energy, matched effort.
Correct.
It comes from everybody, all inclusive. Talk about where people can watch you play.
So right now we are playing in George P. Phoenix School, which is right behind Big Bethel High School. I'm sorry, Big Bethel Road, Bethel High School. And our first home game will be November 5th, which is a Sunday. We play at 2 o'clock. And then we have a special Veterans Day game against the Beltway Bombers, November the 11th. So those are our first two games in November. For the complete schedule, you go to our website, neptunesva.com.
That's great, and there's a lot to offer there too. And you got 14 games.
Yes.
And of course, how many do you plan to have on your roster?
So right now we're pushing at 12. We have 8 guys signed right now, and we're still looking for the right pieces. We'll get them. We'll get what works for us.
It's a great opportunity for a person that went to high school or college.
Absolutely.
Is there an age requirement?
No, 18 to 28.
Well, that's good. So you can't be 30 and play.
Can't be 30.
Right. So you get people that are still young and active and so forth.
Yep.
So much with basketball is, we mentioned the fundamentals, but you evolve each game. You can't win every game. You realize that sometimes an opponent's going to be difficult. What about scouting?
So, yes, we're actually looking for some guys that want to be a talent scout or a game scout, someone that we could send on the road to scout our opponent in person. But most of the scouting now is coming from YouTube or the internet, because all our games are recorded. All games are recorded and put on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is great. We use YouTube for our high school football games. You know, the sports highlights is on YouTube, and we encourage everybody to go to YouTube. It's just the best platform,
Absolutely.
and it's free for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, even the NFL puts their direct TV games on YouTube now.
Yep.
So you can learn a lot from that. Are you a junkie, meaning basketball? Do you
Yes.
watch high school, college, NBA,
Yes.
even the big three too?
I even watch rec league.
Yeah.
I'm a basketball junkie.
And you just learn something.
I learned something from everything.
What did Coach Henderson teach you?
Being tough.
Yeah.
Mentally. You have to be tough mentally to survive in this basketball world. You have to be tough mentally. You know, Coach Henderson, one of the things that is cemented in my brain and probably everybody's brain that played for him, if you didn't make a time, he made you dive on the floor and you had to marine crawl to the baseline. And it was tough, but you learn two things. Number one, if I don't want to crawl on my belly, I better make time.
Yeah.
And then number two, if I am crawling, you are not allowed to give up.
Right.
So I took those things with me. And, you know, when I was a high school coach, I absolutely used to make guys dive and crawl. It builds a certain character in your players.
Well, let's talk about your coaching resume after
sir.
you finished school.
Well, I started, see, this is the thing I try to tell a lot of coaches. Never be afraid to start at the very bottom. I coached rec league in the city of Newport News for a couple of years. I did that. Then I went on to Hampton High School. Always give appreciation to Mark Godwin and Coach Eric Brown. They let me come in and grow as a young coach. And then from there I went to Menchville, my alma mater. Big rest in peace to Coach Moore, who let me actually run that program in the offseason by myself. He let me fail, he let me succeed. From there, I went back to Hampton for a little bit to finish things up. And then I got my first head coaching job at Williamsburg Christian. We went to a couple state tournaments there. And then I finished up last year at Hampton Christian Academy. I did 2 years there, and we went all the way to the state championship.
And I've been to Williamsburg Christian. They've got it together there.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not an easy drive from here to get there. I mean, it's way past Norwich, you know, but it's still a lot of fun. But there was no day off when you were in high school.
No.
When Menchville played Warwick, it was an event. Ben Moore, Heritage, Coach Katufis. It was always, you had to be prepared.
Absolutely. And, I mean, those are the things that I took with me. In high school, when I was a high school coach, I mean, we practiced a lot. And every game meant the world to somebody. And, you know, that's why I tell them you never know who's in the stands watching, and especially in this day and age of social media and YouTube, you never know who watches your game.
Yeah.
You say you want a scholarship, well, you got to play like it every game. Doesn't matter who you're playing against.
Right. Do you look for a proactive player, you know, a young kid? Because 18 to 28, you're dealing with young adults and mature adults. There's a different maturity level there, too. Are you looking for the older ones to be more proactive and lead?
Yes, I'm looking for the older guys. So we steer away from older guys who've never played, if that makes sense. So when we have older guys on our roster, they played a couple years overseas somewhere, or they have the pedigree. They played in not a Power 5, but they played Division I basketball. They stayed active the whole time. So yes, they have more of a leadership role in our team, and you know, we encourage them to show these younger guys the ropes. Like, basketball is a business. And they keep emphasizing that. When we had the G League rep from the Oklahoma City Thunder come in, he told us flat out, basketball is a business. Sometimes it's not about your talent, it's about the product that they can put on the floor. And, you know, I drive that home every day in practice.
Oh, it's a great opportunity. You're talking about 18 years old. They could finish high school.
Yeah,
they could work a job and play with you guys. Or, you know, you look at the G League. That's affected college a little bit, but so many guys are leaving college early anyway.
Absolutely.
So this is just another unique opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it's local.
And it's local. So you look at those leagues like OTE, the Overtime League, and some of these top prospects are going straight overseas to get that professional league play underneath their belt. And then they go straight to the NBA. And the NBA is looking for younger, athletic, polished. So if I don't want to steer people away from getting an education, but if you know your end goal, you want to go higher.
And you know the NBA, they play 82 games.
82 games.
The body is going to break down.
Absolutely.
Mentally, you're not going to be as sharp in October as you are in June.
Correct.
How do you stress that even at a 14-game level?
Well, the amount of practices you have, you know, you want to you know, give them as many days off as possible while being able to still stay sharp. So you have skill days instead of practice days. You have film days. It's important on how you travel. So we're not like the rest of the teams where they have to drive their own vehicles. We have chartered bus. We're flying down to Atlanta. Like the way you take care of your body, what you put into your body, all of that matters.
Yeah, you can't wake up in the morning and eat potato chips.
Absolutely not.
No, you have. I mean, how you stay hydrated and how you eat is very important.
It all matters.
Yeah, exactly. Give us your tip for somebody who wants to play high school or college basketball, or play for the Neptunes.
Well, my tip to all the guys that I train and that I have trained: stay committed. Because you're going to have times where you feel like the game isn't being fair to you, or you're not getting the appropriate amount of attention or exposure. Stay committed. Stay committed, and always push yourself to go higher. And that's my advice to all basketball players.
And to me, it all starts with the attitude.
Absolutely.
When you walk out the door in the morning.
Absolutely.
Because people know whether they start that on the court, how their attitude is before they even make that first shot.
It all translates.
Yeah.
How you approach the world, how you interact with the world. It all translates to whatever sport you're playing.
Yeah, what's in the universe doesn't have to be your universe, you know, but you have to get along with your coaches.
Absolutely.
And the same thing with your assistants. They have to buy into what you're saying.
Everybody
Otherwise,
has to buy in.
you wouldn't be working with them.
Correct. Everybody has to buy in. And like I said, I have a great staff, and they all believe the same thing. And that's the thing that I believe in.
Yeah, and this area's got a rich heritage from Allen Iverson to Tony Rutland. And,
absolutely.
With guys when you were in school, I mean, that have played Division I, II, III, NBA, you know, Joe Smith. So much to draw from.
Absolutely. And, you know, we plan on having these guys talk to as many of those guys as possible. And that's where it starts. We want to keep mentoring these guys along the way because, you never know who might make it to the next level.
Right. It's also entertainment for y'all.
Absolutely.
All right, Kashif, very nice to meet you. The head basketball coach of the Virginia Neptunes will be playing in Hampton. All the best for all 14 of your games.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Hope everybody enjoyed the Thanksgiving November show with Kyle McMullin, the Director of Athletics at CNU, and Mr. Kashif Johnson, the head basketball coach at the Virginia Neptunes. A pure pleasure to have them on our program this month, late here in the fall. So for our great crew and Ray Price, I'm Greg Bicaveras. Happy November, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.